Hello, everyone. I figured out my mic problem. Apparently, I have to plug in my little connector for the mic to my phone before I turn it on, and it was fine. They're really charged now. I don't even have to charge them for a while. I always thought I had to only charge them for like each use, and I don't, and I'm glad to know that. Grab your coffee, sit down. The Magical Memories podcast is back, and we're recording a new episode today. A little different than we normally do of a subject. We normally seem to just cover Universal and Disney, but today I wanted to do a little different, wanted to go off the beaten path. It's fresher in my mind a bit. I just went on a trip to New York, and I am a huge fan of the show Gossip Girl. Now, Gossip Girl came out in 2007 and ended in 2012, and it has a reboot as well, but I'm focusing on the original show. And the show, of course, was filmed in New York City, so it has a lot of iconic locations all around New York City that you can visit and go to and explore. I don't have any of the actual places where they live on this list because all you can really do is take a picture of the exterior. People do probably live there. That's really rude. I'm going to focus on the public places that you can go that are going to be well known in your brain. Like if you've watched it at least once or twice, you're going to be like, I remember that. Especially because I'm going to tell you why it was in the show or what was the reason for it being in the show, the information of why, da da da. This episode does in fact have a blog post attached to it. I haven't done a blog post for the past few episodes just because the information was easier for me to get from other blog posts probably, but this one has a blog post because I needed a way to put all of the information that I needed instead of just my brain, so I'm gonna occasionally look over here. I am a travel agent, of course, as always. I will tell you that in every episode because I can book these places that I'm talking about, and I would love to book your Gossip Girl vacation, especially because I'm about to give you the list of places you should go. You can email me or fill out my booking form linked on the blog post or my travel agent page, which is Maddie World at Your Feet on Instagram or Facebook. I'm also on TikTok, but TikTok doesn't have links in my bio and threads. Let's get into it. So, a good bit of these locations are on the Upper East Side. There's a few Upper West. There's a few lower. They're kind of all over the place. These characters never really stick to one location because as the show expands, the budget does. Which means even though they have Humphrey and Brooklyn in the beginning, it seems very much like it's just going to be Upper East Side and Brooklyn. It gets a little bigger as the show progresses. And we're going to talk about that. There is a map of these locations on this blog post as well. At first, I was like, let me do these in order, and then I was like, I don't care, but at first, I did do these in order. The first location that we get in the entirety of Gossip Girl is Grand Central Terminal. Now, Grand Central Terminal is a train station. It's primarily a metro station, like literally just the subway, but they do have trains from Long Island. They don't have trains from Connecticut, that I know of. I don't know. I didn't really do much research, but I did Google it. And I was like, do they have train? Where do the trains go from to, you know? And they don't come from Connecticut. They don't really come from south. It kind of seems like they come from north to Grand Central, which I thought was interesting. Penn Station seems to be the one that's more like south because I did take New Jersey Transit from not Pennsylvania, from New Jersey to like a train to Penn Station. So yeah, I think Penn Station's more of the actual train station, which is interesting. So the opening scene of the show is at Grand Central Terminal. This is a beautiful train station. Cue the video montage. It's just a little layover thing. It's honestly, it's one of the prettiest train stations you'll ever see. We went again on this last trip. I've been there so many times. It's such a good train station. We actually rode a subway into it from Times Square or something. 42nd Street is actually the same street. It's just a few blocks over. You could ride a train station straight into it. which is really dope. But it's a subway station, so not quite the same. They have a food and dining concourse in this train station, and the below like floors, there's several floors to this. I don't even know what they all are. And they have like Shake Shack, and they have a Magnolia Bakery in here. And so we usually come here literally just to go to Magnolia Bakery. But don't miss out on this if you're a Gossip Girl fan, just to explore and take cool pictures. But also, the Campbell apartment is here in this building. I'm not sure where, but I'm sure you could find it if you ask somebody who works there. The Campbell apartment is where Nate and Serena were like having sex on the bar. My sister asked me that when we were somewhere. She was like, "Is this the bar?" We were in the Palace Hotel. I was like, "No, that's not, no." And what I love about that little touch of them doing that is that in season 5, we get Serena cheating. Well, not Serena. Dan cheating on Blair with Serena because Serena tricks him into having sex with her, and she films it. And that's like the iconic sex tape. And that happens there too because they have their divorce party, the Shepherds, the same place where they got married, which is the first event versus the last event. It's so weird. Like, Serena just isn't a good friend. Now, I would check the hours for the Campbell apartment because if you're planning on not only seeing the station but the Campbell apartment, you're gonna want to wait till it's at least open. I don't know the hours off the top of my head. Oh wait, they're right here. It opens at 1 on Monday through Friday and 12 on Saturday and Sunday. So if you want to do the Campbell apartment, you might want to wait till a little bit later in the day so that you can go to the bar. I don't know what kind of food that they serve. I don't even know if they have a Gossip Girl drink. I know nothing about the Campbell apartment. But I think this is where Serena talks about they talk about the red snapper. I'm not sure. Okay, so Serena's next stop was Blair's place. But after Blair's place, she went to visit her brother, and then she went home, which they were living at the Palace Hotel. This is the Lot New York Palace Hotel. This location is gorgeous. I think a lot of people go straight to like the Plaza when they think of like iconic hotels in New York from movies and TV shows, that they forget that there are other hotels in New York. The Plaza is iconic in of itself. I mean, it's Home Alone, it's Eloise at the Plaza. It's a great iconic, and there is a little bit of Gossip Girl there too. I'll cover it in a minute. But that's not on my list either on the computer, so you guys get more if you listen to the podcast. But yeah, the Lot New York Palace Hotel is basically like the first 2 seasons of the show. It's very prominent. It's where Serena and her mom live in the first few seasons until they get their apartment. Chuck's dad, Bart Bass, bought this hotel, so they like Chuck has his own suite. It's a Bass Industries property. You know, it's like a very pivotal thing to the show. And there's a lot of like locations in the show that surprised me in this hotel. Like, there's a cool thing I can tell you about to help you find those cool locations. But I want you to come book your trip with me for me to tell you, because that's a little juicy, and I'm gonna gatekeep that. I want you guys to come book your dream Gossip Girl trip with me, and there's a great thing about the Palace Hotel that I can tell you about. And of course, you're not a Constance girl if you don't go sit on the steps of the Met for breakfast. So the Met is actually also a museum, and like all museums, you can visit it, not just like take pictures outside like a Gossip Girl fan. Now, it's completely up to you on your Gossip Girl trip if you want to visit the Met. It's like $30 a ticket. I did look that up for you because I'm cool. I went to the Met. It's huge. I would literally do a whole day for the Met if you're actually going to do it. We made the mistake of thinking we could just do like part of a day, which, I mean, we didn't have the time to do a full day because we had other stuff to do. But I don't know. But, you know, like, This is very much a big museum. Now, if you are a New Yorker, if you live in New York, you can get like do the pay as you wish thing. All museums in New York allow you to do that. That you're gonna have to ask me more about that. If you book a trip with me, which you don't need to book a trip if you live in New York, so I guess just Google it. And there's a thing for New Jersey and stuff people too, but yeah, the Met, it's so iconic. It's where Blair sits on the steps. And in the last season, this is the museum is where they meet Blair and Chuck right before when they find out that Blair and Chuck are getting married. This is where they do that. They meet at the Met and then they get married elsewhere. We'll talk about it. We'll get to it. I swear. But yeah, the Met's very iconic. You gotta get some yogurt and sit on the steps and don't let anybody sit higher than you and pretend you're Blair Waldorf. So they have a couple of schools in the show. We got Constance Billard, we got St. Jude, we've got Columbia, we've got NYU. We're going to talk about schools for a minute. So the first school, of course, that we know is Constance Billard. They are juniors when we meet these characters. The school filming location for the exterior, because the interior I think is mainly a set, is the Museum of the City of New York. Also a museum. It's about New York. The hours for this are like 10 to 5, so it's shorter hours too compared to like most museums, I would say. I did not look up the hours for the Met. I'm sorry, you guys. I'll add it in editing. It's $20 a person to go to this museum if you want to visit. But I mean, this museum is pretty far up. If you actually go this far to go to the Museum of the City of New York, you're probably going to be like, okay, we're going elsewhere next, because we probably walked to this museum from the Met. That's probably the best method. It's a good, like, almost a mile, I think, from the Met. Maybe a little bit over a mile. Yeah, it's a mile from the Met. Now, the exterior literally looks just like that courtyard that you always see those kids walk into every day for school. It's in the reboot, it's in the original. Once you walk up to this museum, you're going to know you are in a Gossip Girl location. I think this is the most like notable one to me if you really watched Gossip Girl and you paid attention to it, because you're going to be like, yeah, this is it. This is it. So, yeah. Now, like I said with the Met, you don't have to visit the museum for your Gossip Girl visit. Like, it doesn't, like, it's just like the Met. You can just take pictures outside and be done. But if you want to, you can. It's completely up to you. It's your trip. Do whatever you want. I've never been to this museum, so I don't know. I haven't even gone to take pictures outside of it because it's so far. We always have other things to do. The morning we did Gossip Girl stuff on this trip, which is when I did Empire and the Met, we had to go to Brooklyn, so I wasn't gonna. Yeah, we went to Brooklyn. I wasn't gonna try to make anybody go out of their way because it was farther out of the way. Like, we were only going to 85th Street to a subway station, and that was even further up. And then, of course, also on the east side, Blair's favorite macaroon shop. Now, this one isn't that featured in the show. In fact, you only ever see her in season 5 when she's getting married to Louis, going to get macaroons in the store. But every time you see her eat macaroons, this is probably where they're from. Now, I actually just recently saw a clip, and the clip says her real favorite macaroons are not from this place, they're from a different one in Paris. So I guess this is her New York place, and when she's in Paris, she has a different one. So in New York, it's Ladurée. Ladurée, Paris. Now they have this in Paris, of course. There's not just one location on the east side of this place in New York. There's also one in Soho, which is bigger. It's more fun. It has like a whole tea thing that you can do in the afternoon. This one's kind of more just like a little shop. You can go walk up and get some macaroons. You can buy them in a box. You can buy them individual. That's how I buy them every time I go because it's cheaper. It's like $2 a pop versus like a $20 box that only has 6. I think that's what the pricing is. Probably 30 now. I don't really know the best option for going here. I think the best thing to do is to look at the map. And see like where it is in accordance. It's somewhere on Madison, but it's further down. It's like closer to Museum of the City of New York. It's not near the Met. I don't really know. That map, it's not exactly where it's at. I think it's like pointing almost exact, but I don't know exactly where it's at. So yeah, back to schools. We got NYU and we got Columbia. Now these are obviously real schools. Constance, Billard, and St. Jude's are not real schools, but Columbia and NYU are. Now, a little fact I didn't know. Columbia is like on the west side. So, if you don't know what the west and east side is, I'll explain it really quick. There's this really big park. It's called Central Park. And it's like smack dab in the middle of Manhattan. And there is east of it, and there is west of it. And the west side is the west, and upper east side is the east. Now, the upper east side is the primary side that we get on this show, but sometimes we go upper west side, so it does make me wonder, when thinking about where Serena's probably living with Blair and thinking about where Columbia is, why she doesn't get up earlier to go to class. Because I kid you not, Columbia, you have to go like all the way around like Central Park. It's like way up there past Central Park on the upper west side, and she's probably like way down on the upper east side, like almost like to the Met. Probably very close by, I would say. That's why they pick the Met to sit on the steps of, I'm sure. It's probably because it's closer to where they live. It's like halfway between. It's like, oh, we get to sit down for a minute because we're walking in high heels. But yeah, Columbia is pretty far. It's on the map. And then NYU is like way NYU is like way down here. It's in the Greenwich Village, like the Lower East Side, like location, and this is like Dan's territory. He like acts like it's his territory. It kind of bugs me. In season, I want to say it's 4, Blair goes to this territory to go on a date with Louis because she's trying to keep people from knowing Louis is in New York because he's not supposed to be there or something. And she goes to Veselka, which is Dan's favorite place to eat. And he was going there because he was going to get the story on Louis, and then he found out Blair was involved with the story, and he decided not to do it. And Charlie mixes everything up and thinks that Blair's on a date with Dan, and Serena gets mad, and it's like a whole thing. It might be season 5. I don't know. No, because they get married in season 5. It's got to be 4. So NYU is like a real school. I mean, honestly, I don't think it showed much of the actual campus. How could it? Like, it's literally an actual school. Columbia, you could at least show like the outside areas between buildings because it is a bigger campus. But NYU is kind of smaller, not really smaller, but like more like randomly spread out in places. So it's not really a big thing to have to visit. It's just on the list because it's talked about. It's in the show. Veselka, you can go there. That's Dan's favorite dumpling place. They have one in Brooklyn too. If you want to go to the one in Brooklyn to be more Dan Humphrey. I didn't know that. I was like trying to find it in accordance to NYU, and I found the Brooklyn one instead. I was like, oh, well, no wonder why he likes this place. He's used to it in Brooklyn. That's the schools. It's fun. Let's go. All right, the next location is the Empire Hotel. So, Chuck Bass, after his father died, he got the company, and he went through some trouble keeping it, but he got to keep the company, and he decided he didn't want to be like his father, and he didn't want to stick to his hotel. He wanted to buy a new club, something. And so he was trying to buy a club, and he kept having issues buying the club. So ultimately, he has one of my favorite quote moments, where he says, why settle for some bar in a hotel when I can just buy the hotel? And so thus far, he buys the Empire Hotel. The Empire Hotel is on 66th Street on the west side. It's a little close to Columbus Circle area. It's on the west side, though, which I think is pivotal to say because these characters are Upper East Side. And I think that's also part of the scene where Blair comes to him and he tells her that is she's like, why do you have me all the way over here? And it's because she's on the west side and she's never been there before. She's like, I stick to East Side, thank you. Anyway, there's not many scenes in the show that are actually at the hotel because they film their like apartment thing on a set, but they do have some scenes on the rooftop and in the lobby. The lobby bar is currently under construction. That's where we do see Chuck having some drinks on occasion, but there is a rooftop bar here, and the Empire has taken a step up a notch with their rooftop bar. They now have brunch on weekends. Gossip Girl brunch. Literally, it's dedicated to being for Gossip Girl. They have a Gossip Girl cocktail. Here's a picture. That, yes, has XOXO Gossip Girl written on the drink. Now, you can get this drink at the rooftop bar anytime. You don't need to go to the brunch to get this drink. But if you do want the mocktail version, because you're not an alcohol person, you might want to go to the brunch. The brunch is like $50 a person, minimum of 2 people per reservation. That means you have to go with someone else. Just so frustrating. It's like, I have to spend $100. What if I just want to spend $50? But, I mean, obviously, you pay for your part each. And they get, like, tea sandwiches and macaroons. And basically, they make you feel like you're in Gossip Girl. Now, this hotel doing this is really cool to me because the rooftop bar is such a nice location. But there are 2 things that bother me. 1, you can't take the glassware all the way up to the rooftop where the Hotel Empire sign is. So you can't take a picture, like, with your drink up there because there's no glassware up there. I get it. But, like, I just want to take a quick picture. And 2, seeing as the Palace Hotel was the actual location of a brunch in Gossip Girl, that should be the place that does a brunch. But it would be way more expensive, so fair. Of course, while you're at the Empire Hotel, you can see Lincoln Center. It's right there. Lincoln Center is where they go to like the ballets and stuff. In season 4, when they have that whole scene where they like take down Juliet because she's like being a single white trash female or whatever, that's in the Lincoln Center courtyard. They're all at Lincoln Center for that event. So it's right there by the Empire Hotel, which I think is super cool. In fact, like the train station, we rode a subway to get to the Empire, and the station that we walked out on in was literally called 66th Street Lincoln Center because we walked out right by Lincoln Center. So, and that was the one subway train. Now there's a few in Central Park that are pretty used, but like the most notable one is Bethesda Fountain / Terrace. This is where Chuck and Blair get married at the end of the show. This is a beautiful spot in Central Park, but the thing is it's always going to be crowded with people. Now, you might actually catch a wedding here. I think I saw one time, like many years ago. And also, musicians come and play in the terrace, and it like echoes because of the walls, and it sounds so beautiful, supposedly. We didn't get to catch any, but that does happen. As my sister's boyfriend told me. But yeah, this is a beautiful fountain. This is where Chuck and Blair get married. And under the terrace, there's like benches, I guess. And that's where Serena comes to sit and cry, as we see in like the 3rd episode of the show. That's her spot. I guess Blair's is the Met and Serena's is Central Park. And then there's 2 more locations in Central Park I want to talk about. The Gapstyle Bridge is where Blair feeds the ducks. Blair feeds the ducks on a couple occasions. One of them with Nate, which that's like the comeback of Blair and Nate. And so that's like her spot. This spot is like closer to like the plaza in Central Park. Like it's like not far when you walk in. I think Blair probably comes from a different entrance, but there's like so many entrances to Central Park. I couldn't tell you which one she took, but you can take one like right by the Plaza Hotel. And I think it's like I think that bridge is literally like right there. And then the conservatory water is where Damien deals drugs via remote control boats. Now, that's all the locations I have online. That's it. There's so many more, I'm sure. There is a cathedral like right across the street from the palace. That's probably something. I don't know what it is though. There's St. James Church. That's where Blair and Louis get married. There's probably like I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, that is the conclusion of the Gossip Girl locations for you guys. If there are more, you want to do more in depth, there are so many lists you can find out there. This is just me having an excuse for a podcast episode today. There's so many more out there that you can do for your Gossip Girl trip. You can book your trip with me and I can do the research for you. I've seen Gossip Girl so many times. Sometimes I kind of just need like a list to like pull it in my brain and I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I forgot. So, yeah, that's the coverage of the Gossip Girl locations for you. Um, Thanks so much for watching or listening to this episode. By the way, if you are only listening, I did do pictures like over the screen of these locations on the video version of this episode. You can find it on YouTube and Spotify because it's just easier for me to upload a video version of Spotify. Why not? What's the point of doing a video version if you don't upload a video version? Makes no sense. But yeah, you can check out the blog post if you want to read it. It's linked below. And I'll see you guys for next week for the next episode. Probably going to be back to Disney. As for quick Disney and Universal news, Halloween Horror Nights starts this weekend. All right, that's it. Bye!